You've done the analyses. You know what your security program needs. You've built a detailed spreadsheet showing every line item, every tool, every headcount request, and then you present it to leadership and it falls flat. As you've already guessed, throughout this course, you've heard getting security budget approved requires more than accurate numbers. It requires presenting those numbers in ways that resonate with how executives think and make decisions. Communication expert Barbara Minto, who developed the structured thinking methodology used at McKinsey, offered this insight. The audience's time is more valuable than yours. Start with the answer, then provide only the supporting information they need to accept it. Most security budget presentations do the opposite. They start with the technical details, build slowly toward conclusions, and leave executives wondering, what exactly are you asking for and why should I care? Let's go over 4 common failure modes. Failure 1, too much technical detail. Executives don't need to understand every capability of every tool. They need to understand what problems you're solving and what happens if you don't solve those problems. Failure 2, insufficient business context. We just talked about this in the last lesson. A request for $2 million in security spending means nothing without context. $2 million to protect what? To enable what? To prevent what? Failure 3, unclear priorities. When everything is presented as equally critical, remember, nothing is critical. Executives need to know what matters most and what could wait if necessary. Failure 4, not anticipating questions. Decision makers will ask about alternatives, trade-offs, and consequences. If you're caught unprepared, you lose credibility and often lose the budget. There are numerous structures that work, but here's one. Though it's not the only approach, it does consistently resonate with executive audiences. You start with business impact. Open with what the organization gains, not with what security needs. This investment protects our ability to close the enterprise deals in our sales pipeline. That, of course, lands differently than we need a new security tool. Present the ask clearly. State your total request early. Don't make executives wade through slides to find the bottom line. I'm requesting $3.2 million across 3 initiatives. That tells them what to anchor on. Provide tiered options. Don't present a single number as take it or leave it. Offer options. At full funding, we achieve X. At 80% funding, we achieve Y with these trade-offs. At minimum funding, we can only do Z. This gives decision makers agency and shows you understand resource constraints. Show what's at risk. Be explicit about consequences of underfunding, not in a threatening way, but in a factual way. Without this investment, we cannot meet the compliance deadline, which puts the healthcare contract at risk. Executives need to understand what they're choosing when they choose not to fund something, and connect to their priorities. Reference the strategic initiatives, revenue targets, and risk concerns that leadership has already identified as important. Your budget should feel like a natural extension of their agenda, not a competing priority. You want to walk with them to the ring, not get into the ring with them. Every budget presentation faces pushback. Anticipating and preparing for objections is half the battle. Can't you do this cheaper? Be ready with alternatives you've already evaluated and why you didn't recommend them. We considered 3 options. Option A costs less but doesn't meet our compliance timeline. Option B requires expertise we'd need 18 months to build. Option C is what I'm recommending because it balances cost, speed, and capability. What happens if we fund half of this? Have your prioritization ready, knowing which initiatives are foundational versus incremental. Be prepared to explain what you'd cut and what the organization loses by cutting it. How do we know if this will work? Point to evidence, vendor references, industry benchmarks, pilot results, analyst research. If you don't have proof points, acknowledge uncertainty and explain how you'll measure success. Do not have the attitude that they should just trust you because you're the specialist. It's not personal, it's business. Why now? Can this wait until next year? Explain the cost of delay, compliance deadlines, threat trends, dependencies on other initiatives. If it genuinely can wait, say so. You'll build credibility for the request that truly can't. And you'll be letting them know how long can it actually wait. And you might even start with that sometimes. If we do this, we'll be functioning proactively. If we do this, we'll be skirting by right on time. If we do that, we'll be acting retroactively or reactively. Other departments are asking for money too. Why should security come first? This is where business alignment pays off. If you've done the work to connect security spending to business outcomes, you can show how your request enables or protects the organization's strategic priorities, not competes with them. It's a part of that. It's not in competition with it. And budget presentations are certainly not isolated events. How you handle this cycle affects your credibility in the next one and affects what you might be approved for in the next one. Sometimes you might be presenting something in preparation for them to be prepared for it in the next cycle. And be sure to deliver on what you promised. If you said an investment would reduce incident response time by 40%, measure it and report back. Nothing builds budget credibility like demonstrated results from previous funding. Now, you still have to also acknowledge what didn't work. If an investment underperformed, own it. Explain what you learned and how you're adjusting. Executives respect honesty more than spin. If people are feeling like you're trying to manipulate them, then you've lost already. Maintain visibility between budget cycles. Don't disappear until the next budget season. Provide regular updates on security posture, initiative progress, and emerging risks. When budget time comes, leadership should already understand your value. You don't want to be the person where they're saying, every time we see you, you're asking for something. Document your methodology. Keep records of how you prioritized, what alternatives you considered, and why you made the recommendations that you did. When asked to justify decisions months later, you'll have answers. So the mindset shift that changes everything is to stop thinking of yourself as a cost center requesting funds and start thinking of yourself as a strategic partner helping leadership make informed decisions about risk and investment. Cost centers defend expenses. Strategic partners present options, trade-offs, and recommendations that help the organization achieve its goals. Cost centers react to budget cuts with frustration. Strategic partners help leadership understand consequences and find creative alternatives. Cost centers are invited to budget meetings. Strategic partners are invited to strategy meetings where budgets are shaped before they're finalized. So the takeaway from this lesson is that your security budget presentation is more than a request for money. It's a demonstration of your business acumen, your understanding of organizational priorities, and your ability to communicate at the executive level. The downloadable security budget presentation toolkit includes slide templates, objection handling guides, and frameworks for structuring your ask at different funding levels. In the next lesson, we will be talking about incident response as business continuity through the process of preparing for the inevitable breach.